It was 12:05 a.m. In the state of Colorado, USA, a small town called Black Ridge was covered with freezing winds and complete darkness. The entire town was sleeping peacefully, but on the top floor of an old motel outside the town, there was one room from which a strange sound came every night. People believed that 5 years ago, a terrifying murder had happened inside that room, and since then nobody had dared to stay there. But 28-year-old Ethan Parker, a crime documentary journalist, never believed in such stories. He decided to visit the place himself, record everything, and discover the truth behind the mystery for his next project. Ethan arrived at the old Ravenwood Motel in the middle of the night with his camera equipment. The broken sign outside the motel was moving with the cold wind, creating a disturbing sound. The owner of the motel, an old man named Samuel, looked nervous when Ethan asked about room number 307. Samuel slowly said, "Do not go into that room. Some secrets are better left buried." Ethan smiled and replied, "I am not here to record ghost stories. I am here to find the truth." Samuel gave him the key, but before Ethan left, he warned him, "If someone calls your name after 1 a.m., do not answer." Ethan walked toward the third floor. The long hallway was completely dark, and every step echoed through the empty building. Room number 307 was standing at the end of the corridor. Ethan opened the door and entered. Inside, there was dust everywhere, old furniture and strange marks on the walls. In one corner of the room, he found an old tape recorder. As soon as he pressed the play button, a frightened man's voice started playing. "If someone is listening to this, it means I did not survive." Ethan became serious. The recording revealed that 5 years ago, a woman named Jessica Morgan had discovered a terrible secret inside this room. She was about to expose the truth, but before she could, she was murdered. Suddenly, the recording stopped. At that exact moment, the lights went off by themselves. Ethan turned on his flashlight and started looking around. Then he heard the sound of water dripping from the bathroom. Slowly, he walked toward it. When he reached the mirror, he saw words appearing in the fog on the glass. "You are too late." Ethan stepped back in fear. Suddenly, his camera screen turned on by itself, showing that someone else was standing inside the room behind him. Ethan quickly turned around, but nobody was there. Then the door of the room slammed shut. From outside, he heard slow footsteps approaching. The footsteps stopped right in front of the door. The door slowly opened, and a man wearing a black coat appeared. He was holding an old knife in his hand. Ethan asked, "Who are you?" The man smiled and said, "You are searching for a story that was supposed to disappear 5 years ago." Ethan realized that this man might be the killer. He secretly turned on the recording on his phone. The man revealed that Jessica Morgan had collected evidence against him 5 years ago. She was going to expose him, but he killed her before she could reveal everything. Ethan looked at him and asked, "So you killed her?" Before the man could answer, a loud sound came from the room. The window shattered and a freezing wind entered. A dark figure appeared in the corner of the room. It was Jessica's spirit. Her eyes were filled with anger. Even the killer stepped back in fear. Jessica pointed toward the wall. Ethan removed an old wooden panel and discovered a hidden box behind it. Inside the box were Jessica's diary, old photographs, and a video recorder. The video clearly showed that the same man had murdered Jessica and hidden all the evidence. But suddenly the man attacked Ethan in anger. A struggle began between them. Ethan fought to protect himself, but the man managed to escape. While running away, he shouted, "You don't understand, Ethan. This murder was not the end. There are more people involved." Ethan was shocked. He immediately called the police. The man was arrested, but the mystery was not over. While the police investigated the room, Ethan checked the footage from his camera. The recording showed something terrifying. While he was talking to the killer, Jessica's spirit was standing behind him and repeatedly pointing toward the outside of the motel. Ethan followed the direction and went behind the building. There he found an old hidden grave-like area in the ground with several names written on it. Samuel finally revealed the truth. Many people had disappeared near Ravenwood Motel over the years, and Jessica was not the only person who tried to uncover the secret. Ethan understood that the murder from 5 years ago was only the beginning. The real nightmare was still waiting. That night, the last thing recorded on Ethan's camera was a whispering voice saying, "Ethan, the next truth is waiting for you." Then the camera suddenly turned off. To be continued. It was 1:30 a.m. Ethan Parker was sitting inside his car, staring at the mysterious area behind Ravenwood Motel, where several old names were carved into the stones. He was holding Jessica's diary in his hands, and thousands of questions were running through his mind. He thought that after exposing the truth behind the 5-year-old murder, everything would finally be over. But now he understood that he had only opened the first door of a much bigger mystery. Suddenly, his camera screen turned on by itself. The screen showed room number 307 of the old motel, but this time someone else was standing inside the room. Ethan looked carefully and realized it was Samuel. But there was something different about him. Samuel's eyes were full of fear, like he was trying to escape from something dangerous. Suddenly, a message appeared on the screen. "Trust no one." Ethan became nervous. He immediately decided to go back inside the motel and find Samuel. The entire motel felt even more terrifying than before. Every room door was open and cold air was coming from inside. When Ethan reached the 3rd floor, he saw that room 307 was already open. As soon as he entered, he noticed bloodstains on the floor leading outside the room. Ethan turned on his flashlight and followed the trail. The marks led toward an old storage room that nobody had entered for years. As he opened the door, he found Samuel lying on the floor in an injured condition. Ethan quickly helped him and asked, "Who is doing this?" Samuel looked terrified and whispered, "The man who was arrested was not alone. There are more people involved in this." Ethan was shocked. Samuel revealed that 5 years ago, Jessica had not only discovered one killer, but she had uncovered a group that scared people, kidnapped them, and used the old motel as their secret hideout. After Jessica's death, they destroyed all the evidence. Suddenly, they heard footsteps outside the room. Ethan and Samuel became silent. Slowly, the storage room door started closing by itself. A voice came from outside. "Ethan, you were too eager to discover the truth." Ethan looked at Samuel and realized the danger was still close. He secretly turned on his camera so everything could be recorded. The door opened and a man wearing a mask appeared. He was holding the same old knife that was used in Jessica's murder. He said, "You put your hands on something you should have never touched." Ethan asked, "Who are you and why did you kill Jessica?" The man started laughing and replied, "Jessica had to disappear because she was going to reveal our secret to the world." Suddenly, all the lights inside the room went off. In the darkness, they heard footsteps approaching. But this time, it did not sound like only one person. It felt like many people were standing outside. Ethan turned on his flashlight, but the masked man had disappeared. On the wall, new words had appeared. "Find the basement." Ethan understood that something was hidden under the motel that nobody had ever discovered. Samuel tried to stop him, but Ethan wanted the truth. Both of them walked toward the old basement. The stairs were broken and darkness covered everything around them. When they reached the bottom, they found old cameras, files, and photographs of many people. Ethan was horrified because many of those people had disappeared years ago. Suddenly, the basement door slammed shut behind them. An old recording started playing. It was Jessica's voice. "If you are hearing this, it means I failed to bring the truth to the world. The secret hidden under this motel is much bigger than my murder." Ethan and Samuel listened carefully. Suddenly, they heard someone crying from another part of the basement. Ethan slowly walked toward the sound and discovered an old locked room. Inside, there were dates written all over the walls. Ethan finally understood that this place was not only used for murder, but also for keeping people trapped. Suddenly, someone attacked them from behind. Ethan fell to the ground and his flashlight went away. In the darkness, the masked man appeared again. He said, "Your story ends here." But Ethan quickly pointed his camera toward him. The camera flash shocked the man for a few seconds, giving Ethan a chance to push him away. Samuel activated the old basement alarm, and a loud sound filled the entire building. Within minutes, police arrived at the motel. The masked man was arrested, and the evidence found in the basement shocked the entire town. But when Ethan checked the camera recording later, his face turned pale. In the video, while he was alone in the basement, Jessica's spirit was standing behind him. She was not trying to scare him. She was pointing toward a hidden wall. When police broke that wall, they discovered an old hidden room. Inside the room, there was only one thing, and it's an old photograph. The picture showed several people standing in front of Ravenwood Motel, and among them was a face that terrified Ethan. It was not the face of the man they had arrested. It was the face of the most respected person in the town. Ethan realized the real mastermind was still free. At that moment, his phone received a message. "You found the truth. Now try to survive it." Ethan looked up, and the camera screen turned off by itself again. The nightmare was not over yet. To be continued. It was 2:15 a.m. Ethan Parker was standing in the old basement of Ravenwood Motel, holding the photograph that revealed the biggest secret of Black Ridge Town. In the picture, several powerful people of the town were standing in front of the motel, and the most terrifying thing was that Mayor Richard Collins, the most respected man in the city, was also there. Ethan finally understood that the real nightmare had only begun. He immediately tried calling the police, but his phone suddenly turned off by itself. At that exact moment, all the lights in the motel turned on for a few seconds, and then the entire building went completely dark. Ethan looked at Samuel. With a shaking voice, Samuel said, "We need to leave now. If Collins knows that you discovered the truth, he will make you disappear too." Both of them quickly started moving toward the basement exit, but as soon as they reached the stairs, they heard footsteps coming from above. Slowly, the footsteps started moving down toward them. Ethan turned off his flashlight, and both of them hid behind the wall. After a few seconds, a man appeared on the stairs. He was holding a gun in his hand, and his face was filled with anger. It was Mayor Richard Collins. Ethan had never seen him like this before. Collins looked around and said, "I knew someone would eventually find what Jessica was hiding." Ethan secretly turned on his camera and started recording everything. Collins continued, "5 years ago, Jessica tried to destroy my entire operation. She discovered that Ravenwood Motel was not just an abandoned building. It was the place where we hid our secrets." Samuel stepped forward angrily and said, "You ruined so many lives." Collins smiled and replied, "People love fear and mystery, Samuel. We only used what they already believed." He revealed that he and his group were behind many disappearances in the town. They scared people, blackmailed them, and removed anyone who tried to expose the truth. But suddenly, a cold wind passed through the basement. The lights started flickering. Ethan looked at the wall and saw Jessica's shadow appear. For the first time, Collins looked terrified. He stepped back and whispered, "That is impossible." Jessica's voice echoed through the basement. "You buried my body, but you could never bury the truth." Suddenly, the old security cameras turned on by themselves and started playing recordings of all the crimes Collins had hidden for years. Collins panicked and started destroying the cameras with his gun. Ethan saw the opportunity and knocked the weapon away from him. A violent struggle started between them. Samuel quickly activated the old radio system in the basement to call for help. Minutes later, police vehicles arrived outside the motel. Collins tried to escape, but the old basement door suddenly locked itself. He screamed in fear, "This is not over!" The police entered the basement and arrested him. During the investigation, they discovered years of hidden evidence, secret files, recordings, and proof of every crime that had been covered up. The terrifying truth of Ravenwood Motel was finally revealed to the world. A few days later, Ethan released his documentary titled The Ravenwood Secret. Millions of people learned Jessica's story, and after years of silence, she finally received justice. But Ethan still had one question. On the final night, when he watched his camera footage, he noticed something strange. Jessica's spirit was standing in the corner, slowly smiling. It looked like she was saying that her mission was complete. Months later, Ethan started.
Preparing for another documentary in a different city, one night while checking his camera, a strange video file appeared that he had never recorded. The video showed the basement of Ravenwood Motel again. An unknown man was standing in front of the camera. He slowly said, "One secret has been revealed, but every city has a Ravenwood hidden somewhere." Ethan felt a cold fear because the camera slowly moved backward, showing someone standing behind it. A new face appeared in the darkness. It was not Jessica. It was someone else. Someone who had been watching everything from the beginning. Ethan realized that the darkness was much bigger than he ever imagined. The Ravenwood mystery was over, but a new nightmare had started. The question was no longer who was the killer. The question was who would be the next victim. The end